All right, so this deep dive is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We're tackling Batman.
Okay.
But not just any Batman. No.
Right?
No.
Wow.
This is all about Tim Burton's vision of the Dark Knight.
I like it.
And you know what's even cooler?
What's that?
You guys, the listeners, are the ones who brought this whole thing to life.
Really?
You gave us this treasure trove of interviews and stories all about Burton himself, and then you hit us with this question.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
What can we learn about Batman's ideology, his inner world, just by looking at Burton's films?
Whoa, analyzing a director's whole filmography.
I know, right?
Just to understand one character.
It's like cinematic psychoanalysis.
It is.
And the sources you guys provided,
Yeah.
they're pure gold, like seriously.
Oh, this is going to be good.
We're talking deep dives into Burton's childhood,
Okay.
how it all shaped his artistic vision.
I'm listening.
Okay, for instance,
Hit me.
did you know this guy was obsessed with monster movies as a kid? Oh yeah, he even wanted to be Godzilla.
Haha. Classic childhood dream. Who hasn't wanted to be Godzilla?
Totally.
But think about it for a second.
Okay.
That fascination with creatures like Godzilla, Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
That kind of ties into this whole outsider theme
Okay.
that pops up all the time in Burton's work.
So we've got monsters and outsiders. Now, where does Batman fit into all of this?
Well, Burton talks about feeling like an outsider himself growing up in the suburbs.
Really?
Yeah, he described it as this blank environment
Oh,
that stifled creativity and passion,
interesting.
And knowing that, it makes you wonder if Burton saw a bit of himself in Batman,
Okay.
someone who operates outside the norms of society.
Yeah, hidden in the shadows.
Exactly.
So that outsider theme,
Yeah,
could that be the key to understanding Batman's whole thing?
it's definitely a possibility.
He's not your typical,
Right.
social butterfly superhero.
Not well.
More like a brooding loner.
Yeah. And it's really interesting.
What's that?
If you look at what Burton himself says about Batman,
Yeah.
he was drawn to that dual identity. That human behind the mask who chooses to operate in darkness.
Okay.
He even said he felt other Batman adaptations missed the mark
Really?
by not exploring that psychological depth.
It's like they just focused on the surface level stuff.
Exactly.
And you know what's funny?
What?
He had the same issue with the studios.
The studios.
They always wanted things lighter,
Lighter.
less dark,
Less dark.
and more literal.
Oh, yeah. Remember that story about his animated short, Vincent?
Yeah.
Where they wanted him to change the ending?
They wanted the kid's dad to take him to a baseball game.
Talk about missing the point.
I know, right? Like completely missing the whole mood and message.
Yeah, that studio push for literalism.
Yeah.
It really clashed with Burton's vision.
Absolutely.
And you could argue that tension actually mirrors Batman's inner conflict.
Oh, tell me more about that.
It's like this balancing act
Yeah.
between his brooding nature.
And his desire to protect Gotham.
So he's constantly battling against darkness,
Exactly.
both within himself and out in the city.
It's like a two-front war.
So we've got this outsider theme, right?
Yeah.
The struggle against darkness
Mm-hmm.
and this clash between Burton's artistic vision and the studios.
Right.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's think about how visually striking Burton's films are.
Oh, they're absolutely gorgeous.
And don't forget, he came from an animation background.
Oh, that's right. He even worked at Disney for a while.
He did. And he's always favored visual storytelling.
Over dialogue.
Over dialogue, yeah.
He lets the pictures do the talking.
Exactly.
And it's so effective.
And speaking of visual storytelling,
Yeah.
think about Gotham City itself.
It's like a character in his film.
It is this gothic,
Almost surreal landscape.
not your typical city.
Definitely not.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Oh, I'm all ears.
That visual style, especially the way he portrays Gotham.
It could be a window into Batman's psyche.
So you're saying Gotham is a visual representation of how Batman sees the world?
It's a definite possibility. It's a possibility. And it's not just Gotham.
What else?
The characters he chooses.
Yeah, there's something else.
Larger-than-life figures who embrace their eccentricities.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't get much more eccentric than
Jack Nicholson's Joker,
Jack Nicholson's Joker.
or Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
Oh, yeah. Bold casting choices.
Bold. And, I remember from the sources we have,
Yeah.
Burton really had to fight for those.
He did. The studios weren't exactly thrilled
Not at all.
about the idea.
But Burton,
Yeah.
he was drawn to actors who weren't afraid to push those boundaries.
Right. To explore those.
The darker
The darker, the more unconventional.
aspects of the roles.
And you could argue that this reflects Batman's own ideology.
How so?
He's not a traditional hero,
Right, he operates outside the law,
He does.
uses fear and intimidation. So maybe by casting those intense,
Yeah.
almost over-the-top actors,
Yeah.
Burton was trying to visually represent those
It's a fascinating possibility.
aspects of Batman's personality.
It is. And it also plays into this whole idea of duality
Dual.
that we see in his films, with the line between hero and villain,
Yeah.
sanity and madness,
Okay.
often blurred in his world.
It's like the world Burton creates.
Yeah,
It's always teetering on the edge of chaos.
makes sense. But
It does, considering Batman's always trying to maintain order.
battling to hold back the tide of darkness.
Speaking of darkness,
Yeah.
you think Burton's films are too dark for Batman?
I know some critics have said that,
Yeah,
but Burton himself has always rejected that label.
really.
He sees light and dark as intertwined, inseparable forces,
Okay.
and Batman embodies that duality perfectly,
Right. A symbol of hope, but also a creature of the night.
shrouded in shadows.
So to Burton, Batman's darkness isn't a flaw.
Not at all.
It's essential, a part of who he is.
Exactly.
You can't have one without the other.
And this ties back to the idea of Batman's ideology.
Okay, I'm listening.
He doesn't offer those easy answers
Right.
or simplistic solutions.
He operates in a moral gray area.
He does, which makes him much more complex.
And compelling.
Right.
Okay, I'm following you, but what about the criticism that he's too focused on style over substance?
Yeah, I've heard that one too.
Some people say he gets lost in the visuals.
And doesn't delve deep enough into the character's motivations.
Exactly.
That's a valid point, but I think Burton's visual style is more than just aesthetics.
More than just pretty pictures.
It's a way of expressing deeper psychological truths.
Oh.
Think about the Batcave, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
This dark, cavernous space.
Filled with gadgets and weaponry.
It's almost a reflection of Batman's own tortured mind.
Yeah, it's like a visual representation of all that baggage he carries.
The trauma, the grief, the anger.
It's where he goes to confront his demons.
Exactly, and it's not just the Batcave.
What else?
The way Burton uses shadows and lighting throughout his films,
Yeah.
it reinforces this sense of Batman as a figure who is both alluring,
And
a
terrifying.
symbol of hope, but also a reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all.
That's a pretty profound way of looking at it.
It is.
It makes you wonder if Burton's visual choices
Yeah.
are actually a way of exploring Batman's ideology.
In a more subtle way.
Almost subconscious.
Exactly. It's not always about what's being said.
But how it's shown.
And in Burton's films, the visuals often speak volumes about Batman's inner world.
And his view of Gotham.
Precisely.
So how does this all connect back to the listener's question about Batman's ideology?
But what if we learn?
Yeah.
Well, it's becoming clear that Burton's Batman isn't your typical superhero.
He's complex.
He is complex, embodies the duality of light and dark.
Order in chaos.
He operates outside the norms
uses fear and intimidation.
as tools to fight for justice,
And his ideology is reflected not just in his actions.
but also in the visual language Burton uses
To portray him.
and the world he inhabits.
So in a way, Burton's unique visual style,
Yeah.
it's a commentary on Batman's ideology.
It is. It is.
It's like he's using the Gothic architecture
The dramatic lighting, the casting choices,
to tell us something deeper
about who Batman is.
and what he stands for.
Exactly. It's all part of a larger tapestry.
That Burton weaves.
You explore this iconic character.
And through this exploration
We gain a richer, more nuanced understanding
of Batman's inner world.
and the motivations that drive him.
That's really interesting.
It is.
Makes you appreciate Burton's films at a whole other level.
Absolutely.
You start to see how every detail contributes
every detail.
to the overall narrative.
Exactly. And this attention to detail is what makes Burton's Batman so compelling.
He's more than just a superhero.
He's a fully realized character with a complex inner life.
And a unique perspective on the world. So we've talked about how visually stunning Burton's Batman is and how thematically rich it is.
Yeah.
But how does all of this tie back to the idea of Batman's ideology?
Right.
Like, can we actually pinpoint his beliefs
His values?
based on how Burton portrays him?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I think the answer lies in looking beyond the surface.
Okay.
Beyond the gadgets, the action sequences.
And into the heart of what makes Burton's Batman tick.
Yeah.
So what are we looking for specifically?
Well, consider this.
Okay.
Burton's Batman isn't driven by revenge
Right.
or a desire for personal glory.
He's not out there for himself.
He's motivated by a deeper sense of responsibility,
Okay.
a need to protect the innocent.
To bring order to the chaos.
Exactly. He's not trying to punish criminals for his own satisfaction.
Right. It's more than that.
He's trying to prevent others from suffering the same trauma he did.
That's true.
And this speaks to a core value that I think defines Burton's Batman,
What's that?
a belief in justice, but not necessarily justice in the traditional sense.
So more like vigilante justice.
It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
I think Burton's Batman represents a rejection of simplistic solutions,
Okay.
a recognition that the world is full of gray areas. He embodies the struggle
Yeah.
between order and chaos,
Okay.
between the desire for vengeance.
And the need for compassion. It's like he's always wrestling with his own demons.
Right, trying to find that balance between his darkness.
And his desire to do good.
Exactly, and that internal conflict is central to his ideology.
It's what makes him so interesting.
It suggests that true justice isn't about blind retribution,
Right.
but about navigating the complexities of the world.
Without losing your moral compass.
You got it.
That's pretty thought-provoking.
It is.
Makes you see Burton's Batman as much more layered and conflicted.
Than just a guy in a batsuit punching bad guys.
Exactly.
And this complexity, that's what makes him so relatable, so human.
We all struggle with those inner demons.
Right, the temptation to give in to anger, to despair.
But Burton's Batman shows us it's possible to channel that darkness.
To use it as a force for good.
He's like a beacon of hope
Yeah.
in a world that often feels hopeless.
Yeah, a symbol that even in the darkest times.
We can choose to fight for what's right.
And that's a powerful message.
It is.
A message that resonates with audiences, which is why Burton's Batman continues to captivate us.
Absolutely. Even decades later.
Decades later.
So after all this deep diving,
Yeah.
what can we definitively say about Batman's ideology as seen through the lens of Tim Burton?
Well, it's not about easy answers.
And not black and white morality.
Burton's Batman embodies the struggle between light and dark,
Order and chaos.
highlighting the complexities of justice.
In a world full of gray areas.
His ideology reflects a rejection of those simple solutions.
Right. A belief in the power of personal responsibility.
And a commitment to fighting for what's right.
Even if it means operating outside the boundaries of law and order. Wow, that's quite a legacy.
It is.
For a guy who dresses up as a bat.
You said it.
And there you have it, folks. We've taken a deep dive into the shadowy world of Tim Burton's Batman.
We explored his childhood,
His artistic struggles.
his unique visual style.
And ultimately, what it all tells us about Batman's complex ideology.
Absolutely.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the mind of a cinematic visionary.
And the inner world of one of the most iconic superheroes of all time.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep those aha moments coming.